Hey guys, what's going on? Maurice here from Carnivore Done Right. And today's episode, we're actually going to be talking quite a bit about oxalates. Now, if this is your first time visiting my YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe if you want to learn quite a bit about the carnivore diet and or other healthy stuff. Start now by subscribing. Now, oxalates. We all know oxalates is naturally found in our foods, such as vegetables, fruits, seeds and nuts, and it's found in spinach, peanuts, and even sweet potatoes. And of course, another major vegetables that a lot of ketogenic dieters tend to consume are cruciferous, such as kale, broccoli, and Brussels sprouts. So if you are consuming any of the following that I mentioned, definitely do increase and or consume some dairy products such as butter, raw milk, and imported cheese. And the only reason I mention that is because they are quite high in calcium, and calcium tend to bind to the oxalates in the gut before they actually get emulsified and passed over to the intestine. Now, having too much oxalates in your body, it will build up into bigger and bigger crystals. When they accumulate in the body, you're gonna notice you're gonna have achy joints, sore muscles, itchy eyes, itchy ears, sore throats, and it varies, right? It is quite individualized. So some audience might get major burning sensation. Myself, I was getting a lot of aches and joint pain, especially in my feet. And yes, the moment I went fully carnivore, which is the whole idea with carnivore, is pretty much eliminating everything and anything except, of course, eating meat, fish, eggs. But the moment you eliminate any of the foods I mentioned earlier, pretty much you are constantly moving forward to a healthier lifestyle. And one thing I want to mention as well too, no matter how much you cook and or pressure cook your foods, you will never reduce the amount of oxalates in that food. So no matter what you do, don't assume that if you actually pressure cook it and or overcook the greens, or even sprout the nuts and seeds, you'd figure that you can actually reduce the oxalates. You will never be able to reduce the oxalates. That's it. It is found in the food, and it is part of that nature. In addition, you will never know how much oxalates you have in your body. Like, you can definitely do some blood work, check your carnitine. You can do some urine testing, checking your calcium level, uric acid levels. But to find out exactly how much you have, I think the worst condition is, and it would be more of a kidney stone. So my whole thoughts about oxalates: you already know what type of foods would actually have oxalates, whether low, medium, or high. You know for a fact that you do require to consume some type of dairy prior of actually consuming the oxalates, so it binds to it. And or you can possibly purchase some calcium. If you do not consume any dairy, you can actually get some calcium supplement and at least take anywhere between 100 to 500 milligrams based on how much you're consuming, at least 20 minutes prior of that meal, so it binds in the gut before it gets passed over. But my concern is, why put yourself in that situation from the beginning? If you know these foods are harmful and they do actually carry quite a bit of oxalates, now you're gonna go ahead and spend more money to actually buy calcium and or other vitamins and minerals so you can bind the oxalates, just so you can be able to enjoy that specific food. Do you really need that specific food? And we know for a fact the foods that I mentioned above, and I'll actually list them below here in the comments, that they do cause some type of reaction in our body, where Yes, it does affect your thyroid. That's why, almost 80% of the population are hypothyroidism. It does affect your uric acid and you end up getting gout. It does affect your kidneys where you end up getting kidney stones. So you already know the effect of these foods, and yet you still decide to consume them. And you're spending more money so you can actually bind the oxalates. So in the beginning, you just totally forget about it. Forget about consuming these foods. Maybe, just maybe, if you do go out with family members and or friends and or business co-workers, and you end up getting some type of greens and or mix in your current burgers or whatever it is, just be aware of it. And since you know there could be oxalates in it, then definitely take that calcium 20 minutes prior to actually prevent it, and or order possibly some imported cheese, so therefore that calcium will bind into the oxalates. Now the issue with oxalates is, and I get this quite a bit from a lot of audience, why do I have migraines, or why do I feel dizzy or brain fog, joint pain, stiffness? So that definitely it is related to some oxalates level in your system. And I always kind of ask that same question. Well, can you give me a sample of the past 3 days? What have you been consuming? And I do deal quite a bit with a lot of ketogenic audience, carnivores, of course. And I do deal with a lot of Paleolithic audience as well too. And when I look at their diet for the past 3 days, and I notice they either had some type of raw nuts and seeds, some type of greens, especially cruciferous, just because a lot of influencers, they tend to talk quite highly about the cruciferous, and there's your answer. There's your answer, that a lot of these foods are high in oxalates, and that's why you are actually getting a lot of these minor symptoms. And the most important one is the brain fog. I get a lot of businesses that I deal with on a daily basis. When I'm actually doing a presentation, they're fogged out. They're not even in the same room with you. You'll be presenting a product or presenting a service, and you turn around and you ask that specific individual that question. They're clueless, and you wonder why. And you ask them, hey, what did you have for breakfast? Oh, I had a piece of toast with some peanut butter and jam. Perfect. There's your biggest mistake: peanut butter, jam, gluten. So all these issues that will actually cause brain fog, you are actually consuming them as a starter meal. Instead of actually having like coffee, or possibly having nothing, being on an empty stomach, and or maybe eating some high dense nutrients such as eggs and possibly maybe some cheese and possibly a nice piece of steak and some bacon, you end up consuming high inflammatory foods. I think I did cover quite a bit about oxalates. It's very, very important to actually be aware of the food you are consuming, and just don't overdo it. Be mindful about the food you're putting into your gut, because for fact, if you wake up the next day and you feel any type of inflammation, it is because of that food you ingested a night before that's actually causing that a slight symptom. In the meantime, another great tip from Carnivore done right. Please don't forget to subscribe, because this will definitely help my channel to grow and to spread the word out to everyone. Definitely want to spend more time on making these videos and actually helping everyone understand, that we can actually utilize food as medicine. We don't always have to rely on supplements. We don't always have to rely on our doctors to actually help us and give us the answer. You have the answers in you. You just have to be mindful about what you're putting into your gut. Again, don't forget to subscribe, and if you have any questions or comments, please list them below. I'll be more than happy to assist each one of you.